this week? Emeka?
There's a lot of Chinese decorations about.
Indeed there are. We must say a big thank you to Mr. Joe and Mr. Stephen who basically made and put up most of the decorations. Yep, so that's definitely one thing that's different. What else is different about our assembly? Got your names? Amir, what's different? Well done, it is Chinese New Year and it is the year of the pig, but what's different about how you are in the hall to how you normally are? Paul? No, you sat slightly differently, and that's because a lot of our assembly is going to happen in front of you down this. Well, you'll find out what it is soon, okay? But I must say that you have dealt with the change very good, and you sat very quickly and carefully. And part of my assembly, after we've seen part of it, you're going to then all shuffle to face the board, but we'll worry about that when it comes. But so far, so good. So, as Amir just told us, it is Chinese New Year. When? Today. When are we going to do our big celebration? Have people got their clothes ready? Remember, if you don't have any Chinese style clothing, remember red or yellow or gold, which are the colours of China that symbolise China, and you're all wearing something red. So if you're really stuck, what could you wear? Right, Mehmet, can we sit properly, please? Okay, so I have, in order to do a little bit of work and teach a bit about the Chinese New Year, I drafted in some of my most of my year 5 group English, who not had much time. I wasn't that kind to them. I only gave the words at the end of last week, and we've been practicing to show you how all the Chinese New Year assembly how the Chinese New Year came about, and how we've linked into animals. Do you know that the Chinese link their years to animals? Yes. Anyone tell me what year they are? What animal they symbolise? Amelia? Are you a pig? I don't mean are you a pig, Amelia. What year were you born? Right, so you're a tiger, are you? Right, does anyone else know what they are? Cass? You're a year of tiger. Anyone different for a year of tiger? Elijah?
You're a snake.
Are you? Anyone want to guess what I am? No, you know. I'm a rooster. Alright, and you're going to learn a little bit more about that, okay, from the assembly. So put your hands down. And I'm going to hand over to my year 5. And you're going to listen really well, because a lot of you are going to do some writing tomorrow. And hopefully this assembly will really help you with your writing. So are you ready?
Yes!
So make sure you're facing the right way. You put the front, don't know why you turned. Joyce, don't know their names. These girls at the front that have turned.
Joyce, Safa.
Can you turn properly, please, so you're facing this way? Turn, 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 turn. Perfect. Okay. Turn, turn. Well, let's turn in this class. Turn. Okay, guys, you're facing this way. So can you see how her legs are? That's how you need to be. Perfect. Hands off the blue because we don't want to get champions on. Alright.
We welcome you to our special assembly about the Chinese New Year. China does not celebrate their New Year on January 1st like we do.
This colourful festival falls between the 21st of January and the 19th of February, on the first day of the first month of the Chinese calendar.
Chinese celebrate their New Year first by cleaning their house from top to bottom.
Then by merrily girls giving presents and putting fresh flowers in every room.
Then they take to the streets dressed up as dragons. There's a brightly coloured dragon swaying down the street, kicking up and stamping its feet.
There's a multicoloured dragon, green, gold and red, twisting and swirling and shaking its head.
There's a silky scaly dragon parading for the street, swishing and swooshing and ripping up and down.
There's a swirling, whirling dragon weaving to and fro, prancing and dancing and putting on a show.
There's clapping and cheering as the dragon draws near, a sign of good luck and a happy new year. If you lived in China, you'd be linked
one of 12 animals, as well as having a name their parents gave to.
This is because the Chinese New Year, the Chinese people give each New Year the name of a different animal.
This year is the year of the pig. This is how it all came about.
Once upon a time, a monkey, a dog, and a dragon had a great argument. They were arguing about who the new year should be named after.
This should be me. No,
This year should be the year of the dragon and the fifth.
Oh no, it shouldn't. It shouldn't be named after me because I have good ideas.
What? This year should be the year of the dog. I work the hardest.
Oh no, you don't.
Oh yes, I do.
And so they argued for hours and hours and hours.
It should be me. No, it should be me. You know your work hard.
No.
And as they argued, other animals came along to listen. But after a while, they also joined in with the argument. Each animal wanted the year named after itself.
This year should be the year of the tiger. Oh no, it shouldn't. It should be the year of the horse. But why? I'm the strongest. It should be the year of the ox.
In the end, the animals were arguing together and soon a fight broke out. There was roaring and chattering, barking and growling, neighing and bellowing, squeaking and thumping, hissing, bleating, crowing and grunting. There was so much noise that it disturbed the gods in heaven.
What does animals matter with those animals?
We bless God.
What on earth is matter with those animals?
We bless God to see what's happening.
So the gods appeared in the sky. This gave all the animals such a fright that they stopped their arguing and stared up at the gods.
Why is there so much noise? What are you arguing about?
All the animals started to answer at once. The noise was deafening.
Stop it! Please tell us slowly, one at a time.
The animals bowed their heads. They were ashamed of their bad manners. One by one they explained the problem. The gods thought it over and came up with an idea. They suggested that the animals held a race across a river. The new year would be named after the winner of the race. The animals liked the idea and each one thought that he would win. They rushed to the riverbank and lined up ready for the start.
On your marks, get set, go!
They all began swimming as fast as they could. The river was quite deep and there was a strong current. So it was Ox, who was the strongest swimmer, who was soon in the lead.
I'm gonna win this race easily, no problem.
But he hadn't noticed Rat was swimming behind him. Rat was not a good swimmer, nor was he very strong, but he was very clever. He climbed up his tail without Ox noticing and tiptoed along his back. Ox looked over his shoulder just to check that he was still in the lead. He couldn't see Rat, who was sitting on his neck, so Ox felt sure that he was going to win. He was so pleased with himself that he laughed out loud. But as he did this, he swallowed a big mouthful of water and began to cough and splutter. Just in that moment, Rat jumped over the Ox's head and onto the riverbank and squeaked.
I'm the winner.
The gods agreed that the Rat was the winner.
You were the strongest, but that was too clever for you.
This year will be the year of the rat, and next year will be the year of the ox.
One by one, the other animals finished the race. Tiger was third, rabbit was fourth, dragon was fifth, snake was sixth, horse was seventh, goat was eighth, monkey was ninth, rooster was 10th, dog was 11th, and pig was 12th and last. The gods congratulated all of the animals for finishing the race and decided to name a year after each animal in the order that they finished the race.
This year is the year of the pig, and it will be celebrated today on the 5th of February.
All of these different animals have different qualities.
The rat is clever, hardworking, and imaginative. He always thinks about plans for the future.
The ox is a born leader who works very hard and is very good at organizing things.
The tiger is sensitive, emotional, and adventurous. He takes risks and does not like taking orders.
The rabbit is very affectionate and gentle. He is caring and makes fun.
The snake is charming and a good thinker. He is patient and wise. The horse is hardworking and independent. He is intelligent and ambitious.
The dog is elegant, artistic, and good-natured. Does not like disagreement. The monkey is very clever, but he is very mischievous. And the China is very highly successful.
The rooster is hardworking, strong-willed, and confident. He's well organized and a very good talent.
The dog is faithful, honest, and ready to serve others. The dragon is confident, hardworking, determined, and full of energy.
The pig is honest, peace-loving, and does not lose his temper. As the Chinese people have found out, we all have different qualities, different features, and different abilities. People are different the world over.
We are thoughts of the people. Thank you for the people who thank you for the lesson because other parts of the world.
Thank you that we are all different. Help us to understand and appreciate one another.
Okay, fat choy. Wishing you to prosper.
Did you enjoy your guys' little performance? So did you learn a little bit about the race story? Let me sit down. And then, I think we'll stay as we are at the moment because you can all turn your heads to see the board. Right, so who's going to tell me something they learned from the story, the race story, the Chinese race story? Kimmy, what did you learn? You have to have a lovely loud voice for this, Victor. Yeah. So what do we think the rat was? Well done. He was the winner. But what kind of personality, what characteristics, what qualities did the rat have? Taeyeon? Mischievous and clever. Anything else you want to describe the rat? Megan? Sneaky, yeah. Who would like to tell me which animal they would like to have been in the race? Caleb? Why? Because he's clever because he won. Who would like to be a different animal but one that didn't win? Dora? Why? He's fast?
It's not very good at swimming.
He's not very good at swimming. Maybe that's why he didn't win. So he didn't win. He didn't beat the rats. Right. So hang on for a second. So in a minute we're going to talk to you about a little bit more than you. But now I just want us to look at some of the traditions that people have in their families in their Chinese homes. So Chinese New Year is not just celebrated just in China. There's a lot of other countries around the world right now that are in the middle of their Chinese celebrations. Does anyone know of any other countries? Yes, yes. Okay, yeah, Taiwan. Here. I'm not sure to be honest. I should ask Mr. Howie, he'll know. Yes, Korea, yeah. Oh, Caleb, I called your brother. Huh?
Hong Kong.
Yeah, so a lot of the continents of Asia, put your hands down, will be celebrating New Year. Does anyone know how long it lasts for?
2 weeks.
Oh, shout out to me, Oma. Justin? 2 weeks. How many days is 2 weeks? 14. So thinking of our New Year, we celebrate on which date? So remind me the date of our New Year celebrations. Emeka?
1st of January.
Yes, so New Year's Day is on the 1st of January. Most people celebrate the night before, the 31st. And how many days or how long does our New Year go on for? Hands up, you think we should do a New Year for 2 weeks? Who thinks it's shorter than 2 weeks? Keep your hands up, you think it's just for the one day? Pretty much, yes. So we have our New Year's Day, and then most people have to go back to work the day after. And then you go a few more days and you go to school. So people that are celebrating Chinese New Year will be celebrating for at least 2 weeks. So do you think that means they don't go to work for 2 weeks? They don't go to school for 2 weeks? Or you're going to find out to let me know. Alright, so let me know whether they have 2 weeks off or whether they still go to school and do lots of celebrations. But there's some things that people do that are traditional for when they're preparing themselves for their New Year celebrations. So what's this? What are they doing? Cleaning. So people will clean inside and outside their homes. So on the pavement outside where they live. Why do you think? Why do you think that they clean their house? Zainab?
Because they make a
Can't
parade.
hear you.
They make a parade down the street.
Right, so they might be cleaning up after parade, but they're cleaning up before the New Year celebrations. So why do you think they want a nice clean street and a nice clean house? Amadou? Okay, so to take away the bad luck. And what are they welcoming in? What are they welcoming? The point of it. Then? Yeah, because it is a new year. So get rid of any old rubbish or any old dirt or anything that wasn't quite very good for the old year and clean the house and clean the streets to be ready to welcome in good luck and a good new year. Okay? They also, yes, do 3 other things. So they buy new clothes or they wear some nice clothes. Girls, it's not hairdressing salon. They buy some new clothes or they wear their most formal clothes that they have in their wardrobe, or you know the clothes that you might just wear when it's something good, so a wedding or when you've got to go around to your granny's house and you dress up. So they buy and they wear brand new clothes in a traditional style. That's traditional in Chinese clothing. Doesn't mean all the children every day walk around like that, but that's their traditional dress. What colours do you notice? What's it mainly the colours? Yes, Vita. Red. Red and gold. Yeah. And look, it's Joe's banners. What colours? Red and gold. So it's a very important 2 colours to China. They also give presents. Who do you think they give presents to? Clara, who do you think they give presents to? Their family. Anyone else? Elijah? Family and friends. So people that, you know when it's Christmas time and you think, oh, who do I want to give a little present to? And you might think, right, I want it to my mum and dad, or my whoever looks after me, my brothers, my sisters, maybe granny, maybe uncles, maybe Miss Sands, and your other teachers. No? Okay. Or maybe a teacher. So they also do the same. I would be very interested though, if someone can find this out for me. Do they also have Christmas? Do they give presents 1 week and then presents again, or do they not have Christmas? I don't know what I do, but you're going to find that out for me. Okay, do you know? You can enlighten everybody then. Loud voice.
Christmas is more like a romantic holiday for couples.
Is it now? Okay. Right. There might be one of those coming up as well. Pardon? No, I like it. Okay. Right. They give gifts. So look, this is a typical gift basket. So with some nice fresh fruit, maybe some chocolates. They might have other treats that are in China that people would like to have. And they also put fresh flowers into their house. Okay? So they go and they make sure that they have really nice, beautiful bouquets of flowers. Have you finished? Namaya. Okay. They put a beautiful bouquet of flowers in their house. They might give them as gifts as well to each other. And then, when they start their celebrations, they take to the streets. They go to the streets dressed up as dragons, and they have a really nice, fantastic, fun street party. Do you think that these kind of parties are only happening in China and the other countries around Asia that we said?
No.
Is there anywhere I could go in London or England and see something similar? Tom? Chinatown. So in most cities around the world has a Chinatown. And a Chinatown will always celebrate New Year. So we have a big one in central London, and they'll be very busy at the moment, getting themselves ready, particularly for today, and they'll have big street parties. If you go there, you'll see much more lanterns all over the place, and you will see people dressed up and generally having a really good time celebrating their New Year. Aaron? In Chinatown? Just the rest, yeah. And there's lots of Chinese restaurants in Soho, and they'll be very, very busy. Right, now, Miss Badwanters mentioned the name of somebody. So we've talked about the traditions that they do in China. Yes, year 6 and year 6 and year 4, I expect you guys to know. We've talked about the traditions of what people do to get ready for Chinese New Year. You've seen the history, the story of the zodiac and the animal race. Now we're going to look at a very important man that's part of Chinese history. So I want to send his name to you the other day. And I see year 6s, I know you've been working on it. Year 4s you have as well. So I'm just wondering if you can tell me. Who? Tyrone?
Confucius.
Right, Confucius. Okay. Who has seen this? Have I said it before? Oh, Confucius. It sounds like confusion, and maybe it causes confusion, but it's Confucius. Who can say this? Up 3. 1, 2, 3.
Confucius.
Okay, and this is a picture of him. So he's or a painting. Very long time ago. This man was alive in China, and he's become a very important figure, a figure in Chinese culture, and a very important man. He was a philosopher, a teacher, a politician. Does everyone know what a philosopher is? What they do? Right, let's go to the next one. We're going to see. So philosophy is a way of thinking about the world, the universe, and society. It works by asking basic questions about the nature of human thought, the nature of the universe, and the connections between them. Oh, that's a lot. That hurts my brain slightly. So you need to spend a bit of time to understand that. But basically, Confucius helped people to know how to live a good, moral life. So they did the right things, had good ethics, treat people like you want to be treated. They had respect, they had a lot of respect. And he went around the country of China and he spread the word, okay? So I'm going to just share with you a little video for a couple minutes about who Confucius was. And year 4 and year 6, have you been doing your work so far?
Yeah.
So you guys can let me know if this makes sense and if they're saying they're correct. Okay.
Not many people can say me 2,500 years after they're born, but this guy can't. Not many people can say that they're a meme 2,500 years after they're born, but this guy can't. Hello, my name is Mr. Q, and I'm here to tell you about Confucius, the ancient Chinese philosopher. What made him so famous, and why do people still follow him today? His teachings, known as Confucianism, are a philosophy on how to live a moral and ethical life. This is done through rituals, ancestors. I like to think of him as the Yoda of the ancient world. Historians believe that Confucius was born September 28th, 551 BCE. But like a lot of things from this far back, it's hard to tell what's fact and what's myth. But we do know some things. The times Confucius lived in really needed order. Even though China was one of the most advanced civilizations in the world, by the 5th century BCE, the Zhao dynasty had fallen. There were wars all the time. Confucius' father was a soldier, and he lost him when he was 3 years old. After that, he was brought up by a single mom and became a devoted student. In his teenage years, Confucius had many jobs, like accountant, shepherd, and clerk. Then, he wandered the countryside sharing his philosophy. He even got into politics to try and change how the country was run. He urged leaders to treat their people with respect and to lead by example. This didn't make him popular with warlords or people in the government. So, in his 30s, he went back home and started a school. He taught young men ethics, history, psychology, and the arts. Education used to be only for rich people, but Confucius was way ahead of his time, and he wanted it to be available to people of all classes. He thought that the more people who lived well, the better off the world would be. The reason we know so many of Confucius' sayings today is because they were written down in a book called the Analects. It was compiled by his students in the years following his death. Actually, it took them about 30 to 50 years. So there's probably a bunch of mistakes in there. I mean, I find it hard to remember things I learned in school last week, but the overall message survives. We know that Confucius was fond of the golden rule, which is an old idea that became part of a lot of religions. Treat others the way you wish to be treated. Some other of his most famous sayings are, real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. And one of my favorites, never give a sword to a man who can't dance. That's just good advice. Because that thing about Confucius is that by the time he died, he thought that his life's work was a failure and that nobody was listening to him. In fact, his teachings did fall out of favor for a while. But by the time of the Han Dynasty, it became the official philosophy of China and continued to have a big impact on governing until the 20th century. That's because
Right, there's a lot of information in there about Confucius. Can someone tell me 1 or 2 little things that they picked up about who Confucius was and why he is so important? So right, did you 6 or you 4? What did you learn from the video? Not much apparently, looking at the hands. Right, Rebecca. Okay, and he was born, he's well over 2,000 years old, okay, so it's a long, long, long time ago. Percy.
His dad died when he was 3 years old.
Alright, Paul?
Confucius was a philosopher. He was famous for his teaching and taught us how to learn in life.
And that's the important bit. So Confucius, there's one thing you remember about Confucius is he taught people to how to live a good life. And when I say good, I don't mean by having lots of cars, going on holiday, and a big house. I mean by living a good moral life. So being nice to other people, being respectful. So think of our personal goals, respect, morality. And you treat other people the way you want to be treated. He was also, but did you hear right at the end? He died thinking that he didn't realise the impact of his work on his country and what would happen around the world. He died thinking that he would not leave any legacy or that people would not remember who he was. And here we are, well over 2,500 years later, talking about him. So he actually lasted a lot longer than he ever imagined. He was famous, yes, for doing some quotes. Okay, and some of these you may have heard. So the quotes